Hola, amigos, and welcome to Willy'S podcast. It is.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Rich. We got Rich Vernadeau in the
Yes,
studio.
Vernadeau.
Yes, it's great to have you. All right. So before we kick off our excellent exclusive Q&A with you, I want to know where are you at and how is COVID affecting your area?
All right. I'm glad you asked. I am in Northeast Texas. I'm in Paris, Texas. This is about 90 miles northeast of Dallas. And COVID has very definitely impacted my city and my county. There's a lot of cases in the hospital. The hospital is full with it. Fortunately, more and more people are getting vaccinated, but we only have about a 30 or 40% vaccination rate here. So it isn't as high as it ought to be. Texas is running behind the rest of the country on the vaccination level, and this county is kind of running behind a lot of the counties in Texas. So more people, I guess, need to get vaccinated to offset this new Delta variant.
And I also heard that they're getting the approval for the booster as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I did go and get my booster. It is already available, if you want it at certain places, and I did go and get mine.
Now, I am curious, what is your opinion about those that aren't vaccinated yet? And they feel like they're saying that it's like, how they say, like, it's their body and they're in control. How do you feel about that when we're such an epidemic right now?
Well, I understand the freedom of choice, and that everybody, has to make their own decision for their own body. So I think that's a really complex question there. But I do understand that most of the people that are being hospitalized and are dying now were not vaccinated. And so I think that speaks volumes in terms of the situation that's going on nationwide. Generally speaking, vaccinated people are not getting hospitalized, and they're definitely not dying. They may come down with it, but they overcome the COVID much more easily and don't have to be hospitalized if they've been vaccinated. That's my understanding from everything that I hear, read, and see.
Oh yes, you remember a few months ago that was Tom Hanks and his wife Rita. They had the COVID and they managed to get through it.
Yes.
So that was a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
So how are you feeling about how are you feeling on the pandemic situation? Do you feel like this is something that is a wide awakening for everybody?
I would hope that it would be. I'm sure you're familiar with the late night talk show Coast to Coast, which, when I was doing my podcast a couple of years ago, my show was very similar to Coast to Coast. I would have callers call in and we would have different topics. Anyway, one of the things that George Norrie was pointing out last night on Coast to Coast was that it's now beyond question that this coronavirus was developed in the lab there at Wuhan in China, and that the Chinese were testing it in the local bat. So, it is not a naturally occurring virus. It is something that was man-made in the laboratory. So, yeah, I would say huge wake-up call to the world all the way around.
Right, and that's what you would involve the science in this crazy chaos. And for
Absolutely.
me, and this is my opinion, but it also feels on the biblical sense. Back in the day they had the it was like the flood for in the Bible, and I feel this is like our updated flood, that it kind of like resets us in our lives, kind of to learn to appreciate things a little bit better.
I understand. I do. I understand exactly what you're saying.
All right, so let's get this started. What got you started on this path that you're now trending on YouTube to create your YouTube channel?
Well, I discovered YouTube back around 2011, 2012, and I started out first as a viewer. I didn't really begin making my own YouTube videos late 2015, early 2016.
That's terrible. I'm so sorry to hear.
I'm a creator. I've always had artistic and writing talents. I've always been highly creative in terms of the dramatic arts. So it occurred to me, hey, let's start a YouTube channel. Let's begin creating our own videos and getting them up for mass audience. YouTube basically gives you at least a nationwide audience, possibly a worldwide audience as well.
Okay.
Yes, YouTube is great for content creators, definitely. Yes. And I also recommend, and I use it, it's Rizzo.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. Thank you
It's
for
kind of like,
recommending.
to me, it's like the adult version of TikTok, but without so much silliness. Now, don't get me wrong, TikTok is okay, but it does get overboard. So Rizzo is more tame than TikTok.
Okay, and it's called Rizzo, you say?
Rizzo.
Rizzo.
Rizzle. Yeah.
I'll definitely check into that.
Yeah, I like it. I use it as my content. When I use it, it's me and my daughter will do we share cooking recipes, or I'll update something about what's going on in, as far as current events. So there's always something going on. Yeah.
Are you familiar with some of the competing platforms that coexist with YouTube that are out there?
Oh, no, which ones?
Well, I'll tell you some of them. One that I particularly use is Brighteon, Brighteon, Brighteon. Anyone can start a channel there. Anyone can upload, just like with YouTube. There's also one called BitChute, BitChute, and you can do the same there. It's also, both of these are very similar to YouTube. They're very user-friendly, very easy to use. Another one that I also have uploaded to is Dailymotion. It is also easy to use and user-friendly. So that's three major platforms that are not as big as YouTube, but they're out there.
Are they websites or are these apps?
Those are they're big kahunas like YouTube. Actually, and upload your YouTube there.
Okay. So they're app websites, but they're not apps yet.
Well, there may be apps for them. I know there actually are apps for. I know there's an app for BitChute. There may be an app for Vernadeau too. See, I do an awful lot of that kind of thing on my laptop. Now, a lot of my YouTube videos, particularly if I'm out and about and I'm doing travel type stuff, I'll do with my phone and upload from my phone. But now, an awful lot of videos I do on my laptop and then upload from my laptop into these platforms. So normally I don't directly upload from my phone into Brighteon or BitChute or Dailymotion. I do all of that using my laptop. So I don't even, in my mind, I don't associate them with an app. But probably all three have. I know almost certainly that BitChute and Brighteon have an app.
Nice. Okay, send me those links and I'll definitely check that out. That sounds really interesting. I remember Dailymotion. Yeah, they were really good when they first started, and then it slowed down a little bit. But I think everything's starting to pick up again with what's going on with COVID. It's good because people are starting to talk more and more.
Right.
So how are you feeling about on this situation going on with everybody with pandemic? Is there things that we can do as a whole that can make us feel better and to change and enrich in our lives?
Well, I think so. I think, as you pointed out earlier, communicating with other people and staying safe and teaching safeness, whether it's wearing a mask when you go out in public, which I often do. I can't claim to do it 100% of the time, but I do it quite a bit. And social distancing, that's another thing that can be done. But definitely we can use our downtime whenever we're staying in more and going out less to read, to study, to do things like I do, creating YouTube videos and uploading them. But generally speaking, expand your mind, expand your consciousness, learn all you can, share all you can with others, whether it's through Facebook groups or through social media. There's so many ways now that we can network. And that's part of the 21st century is just networking and expanding other people's consciousness.
Yes, I agree. All right, I got a deep one for you. How are you feeling about the way the government is considering trying to shut down Facebook for the claim that they're saying that it's providing false information on various topics? Do you think it's time for Facebook to be shut down, or do you think this is okay?
Absolutely. I completely am opposed to any form of censorship, particularly when it's government imposed.
Yes.
I'm completely in favor of freedom of speech, and I think that that's part of what the internet makes available to us and provides for us and makes possible. And I definitely would be appalled if the government ever moves in on social media and begins to try to control or curtail it. That's authoritarianism. That's not democracy.
I agree because then if they start going with Facebook, then they try to control everything else that we have right now, meaning anything from Twitter to Instagram. I don't use Snapchat, but I know people do. So I can understand we're all in this together. So if you really feel that Facebook still has some worthiness, then I urge everybody to fight back and say no to being,
absolutely,
as you said before, no censorship, or it's gotten way out of control. Now Facebook has its moments, just like anything else. Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
But that, to me, doesn't mean that it deserves to be shut down.
And I don't think there's any danger of that happening. I think that Mark Zuckerberg is too big and Facebook's too big. I think court challenges would prevent any governmental intervention from ever really. I don't think we have to worry about anything that's Silicon Valley based or controlled because there's too much money involved there.
Well, it was my understanding, didn't he sell Facebook to a third party?
Well, I'm not familiar with that. I don't know about that. I'll have to research that.
That's my concern. That's my concern.
I don't know about that yet, but I'll certainly research it.
Well,
thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it explains a lot because I noticed, and you notice between us and other people, you notice when you start something so intense like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, anything, and you sell it to another company or another person, they keep giving our information out that we have, I guess, to any time they want to. Like, for example, it's catching up to what you're watching or what you're doing, and it's just giving out the information. How do you feel about that? Do you think that they go too far with that?
I think that, unfortunately, it's out of hand and it's out of control. Silicon Valley long ago learned and realized that there is lots of money to be made in mining data, in studying our buying behavior, in studying what we watch and what we look at, and selling that information to third parties. And so they are doing that. All of them are doing that. There's not a single company that you sign up with. Well, very few of them, let's just say this. It's right there in their terms of service. Normally, that they're going to sell your data. Now, you may remain anonymous. They don't necessarily provide your name, address, phone number with it, but you're part of a statistic. You're part of your general overall trend. It's demographics. In other words, the information they're selling is, 30-year-old males in Texas are more likely to buy this product than that.
Yeah.
That's the type of information. So it's all advertising driven. It's all of them. All the big companies are doing it, whether it's eBay, whether it's Amazon, whether it's YouTube. None of our data is really safe if you're doing anything online, but what they're selling won't be necessarily our personal data. Only hackers will go after that. But generally speaking, they're just going to be trading in our buying behavior so that they can pitch us, so that they can advertise to us. So that when you walk into a mall certain ads start appearing on your phone because they want to think that they know what we want to buy. You know, if you like polo shirt, yeah.
And there's a trick. I'm going to tell everybody. There's a trick to change the algorithms. Go to your settings and clear your cache. CACHE. And it's like starting fresh. And you'll probably still get accountable for things that you do online. But the more stuff that you clear off of your history and your cache, the less you'll see so much pop up.
Another thing that ties in with this that's slightly different, but maybe not, slightly related even, if you go into airplane mode with your phone, that clears a lot of stuff out too. And that's important for people to be aware of as well.
How does that work? I've seen that it's airplane mode, but what does that actually do? You got me curious here.
Kind of the same thing you're talking about. It sort of clears the cache out for a little while, and so that you start over anew. That's kind of what airplane mode does.
Nice. I'll keep that into consideration. All right, so I'm curious. Can you tell me 4 of your favorite movies?
4 of my favorite movies? Absolutely, I can. The original, Dawn of the Dead, by George Romero, which I saw when it first came out, and I have seen literally more than 100 times since then. Okay. I've seen it at midnight movies, I've seen it on VHS, I've seen it on DVD, and of course I've seen it online when you can find it. It's kind of difficult to find it online, though you can find it on YouTube. Yeah. There was, of course, a remake in the early 2000s of Dawn of the Dead. That is not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about the original George Romero, Dawn of the Dead, which is the second movie in a series of films he did, which is the beginning of the whole undead thing. We wouldn't have Walking Dead right now if it weren't for all of this stuff that George Romero did. He's the one that created the whole zombie concept and the whole taking over the world with zombies. All of that traces back to George Romero. He started out with Night of the Living Dead. The sequel was Dawn of the Dead. The third movie was Day of the Dead, back in the 80s. The fourth movie after that, Land of the Dead. Then the fifth movie, Survival of the Dead. Now, all of those can be found online, can be found on DVD, but the director is George Romero. Romero. That's my first
I like that.
favorite movie, Dawn of the Dead. Well, thank you, and he's probably my favorite director.
I like that. And as the millennials will call that be the OG. Any other ones that you like? Any other movies?
Absolutely. I like anything Quentin Tarantino did, but I particularly like his most recent one, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Because it deals with Manson family and with Sharon Tate, but he gives us an alternate ending. He gives us an alternate timeline. Instead of following what really happened, he literally goes back, and I've written this in a lot of my reviews that I've done. In fact, I did a YouTube video review about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I've done written reviews about it too online. He literally retakes the 60s because he goes back and he says, we're going to change the way history went down. And I think people needed that. I think it's a breath of fresh air, to see the bad things that happened go away and end in a happy way. So I really liked the way he changed things.
Yeah, he really flipped the script there, didn't he?
Love it, love it, love it.
And I like that he put Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt out of their comfort zones.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, and the beloved Luke Perry was on there too.
Absolutely. Fine cast. Very well done. Everything Tarantino does is absolutely great.
Okay, and what are your other two? You got me curious.
Okay, my other two. Okay, let's go with Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Of course, again, I like anything Hitchcock does, but that's kind of like the original thriller, original slasher film. That kind of set the trend for all the horror that came after it. I really liked Psycho. I thought it was fantastic. Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, and of course you have Hitchcock directing. And The Birds was good too.
Okay. Okay. And what will be your last one?
Okay, for my fourth movie, I guess I'm going to go with another Tarantino, and it's going to be Jackie Brown. I just love the way he revives that whole genre, and Pam Grier. I mean, it's fantastic. That just reinvigorated her career. He's done that with a lot of people too. I love Tarantino's work.
Yeah, he definitely puts everybody in their out of element situations, which is really great.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I like that. So I know that you like listening to like the true crime and reporting it as well. So I have a suggestion for you that I enjoy. It's a series that just gonna start soon on Stars. It's called Hightown.
Hey, Ben walks in. Tell him I'm in.
Hightown.
I'll be back within 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's really good. It's got to do with drugs and murder, but it's involved. Its location is P-Town, and you know what that's out in like Louisiana sort of deal.
Oh, okay.
So check it out. Let me know your viewpoint. The first season is there. It's like I said again. It is called Hightown on Stars, and the second season starting again this fall. So definitely check it out. I think you would be invested as much as I am. So I am curious. Is there any 3 podcasts that you're listening to right now that has intrigued you?
Well, I don't remember the exact name of it because it's been a couple of months since I've listened to it. But talking about your true crime, there is a podcast by Robert Riggs. Now, Robert Riggs, R-I-G-G-S, used to be a reporter with, I think, WFA Channel 8, but definitely with some of the Dallas stations. He also used to appear in the newspaper somewhat in either the Times Herald or the Morning News. At any rate, he's an investigative reporter who goes way back, and now he has the True Crime podcast. And I think it airs weekly. I'm pretty sure about that. At any rate, I listened to some of those a few months back, and I was impressed, and I like that. And so I think that's another good podcast to recommend.
Okay. So I'm curious, do you have any actor, actress, or any life story, in real life that has inspired you to be the content creator, director that you are now?
It's funny you say that. There was a Merv Griffin interview with Orson Welles. And, I'm sure you know who Orson Welles is, and I'm sure you know when he went out there.
Yeah.
When he was first starting, of course, he did that radio thing about World War of the Worlds that everybody felt was real, and it was controversial at the time. So anyway, you're familiar with Orson Welles later going on to make a lot of movies, and Citizen Kane was one of them, etc. Anyway, basically, the question to him, it might have been Dick Cavett, but anyway, it was one of the talk shows, and the question that the host asked of Orson Welles was, what recommendation would you give to an aspiring young filmmaker arriving in Hollywood today? And Orson Welles said, start at the top. Okay? That says it to me. Be your own producer, director, creative. If we're creative and we can write a script and we can film it and we can put it together and we have that talent, start at the top.
There you go. Orson Welles says it best.
He did.
So I'm going to ask the same question similar to his.
All right.
What advice would you give future content creators?
Spread your eggs into more than one basket. Don't have all of your videos on YouTube, and that's the only place they are, because if anything goes wrong, if anything happens, and you lose your YouTube channel for whatever reason, or it gets shut down for whatever reason, make sure your content is elsewhere. And if you have it on BitChute, Brockian, Dailymotion, etc., it's out there, And make sure that your content remains online where people can see it, view it, etc. YouTube may be the biggest network out there right now. Sort of like eBay and Amazon are the online equivalents of Walmart and Target. Right now, YouTube is the big one. But there are others that gradually are growing. And a lot of people that have left YouTube for one reason or another are showing up on these other platforms that I named earlier. So the other platforms are growing. Maybe not as fast as YouTube, and it may take a long time for them to get as big as YouTube. But they're out there and they exist. And they're a place where you can have your videos. You know, if anything ever goes wrong, you'll have your stuff backed up elsewhere.
I love that. And also, I will add, keep your content fresh. Stick to what you know. And don't make it up, because people will find out that you didn't tell the truth.
Sure. Accuracy in broadcasting. I'm a big believer in being honest and truthful and having your facts straight.
Yes.
And if you're doing nonfiction videos, present the truth, be accurate. Be accurate. I believe in accuracy. I believe in trying to be a fact finder. I believe in that.
All right. I love that. All right. Here we go. We're going to do the speed round here, so this is going to be fun. Okay. 3 foods that you would never eat.
3 foods that I would never eat. Okay. Rutabaga, because I really don't even know what a rutabaga is. I've just heard the name.
Okay.
Beets. I just don't care for beets whatsoever.
Okay.
I know they're supposed to be healthy for you, but I just don't care anything for beets.
Uh-huh.
And I don't care anything about pinto beans either. That's just not me. The only bean that I like are green beans, but the rest of the beans I don't care for.
All right. Four of your favorite foods.
Okay, well, the 4 basic food groups are pizza, spaghetti, cheeseburgers, and fried chicken. That's the 4 basic food groups right there.
I love that. Okay. Do you have a shout out to 2 of your favorite places of where you're at that you could recommend? If we were to visit your area, what 2 top places would you suggest?
Okay. Well, give me a moment here, because there's a lot of national chains here, and the national chains are already getting plenty of publicity.
Sure.
Let me try to think of a good mom and pop that I would recommend. That I think that would go better. And let's say Mary's. It used to be Nancy's Cafe on North Main. It's a small diner. And another one would be McKee's. McKee's Diner on the Loop. I will give a shout out to McKee's, because it's a privately owned small, what I call mom and pop, and I like supporting small independent mom and pop business, because that's what I am. I have a bookstore, small independent bookstore here in Paris, Texas. And I'm a shout out for the little guy. In other words, the big guys, and don't get me wrong, I eat at the big chain restaurants too, but they're getting plenty of advertising already.
Yeah, it's always good to root for the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you have any favorite sports team?
Dallas Cowboys all the way.
Okay,
Definitely. Always been a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Yes, we're besties now. Yes, I love Dallas Cowboys. Okay, let's see what else. Favorite childhood memory?
Favorite childhood memory? God, there's lots of them. Lots of them. Some of my YouTube videos deal with that too, like TV was my 1960s babysitter or whatever.
Yeah.
Childhood babysitter, and then I've got growing up in Paris, Texas. Yeah. There's so many, but I'll just pick one at random. Probably the very first pizza that I ate was with my mom and dad when we had gone to the drive-in theater, and my dad got a pizza at the airport drive-in, and it was during the movie Goldfinger, which is James Bond movie Goldfinger. So I had my first pizza as a child at the drive-in theater.
I love that. Yeah. I remember I was young and watching the movie Old Yeller.
Oh, what a sad movie.
That movie made me cry. I swear. I love the movie, but I can't watch it too much because it just makes you cry.
Oh, yeah.
But it was very much a masterpiece, definitely, yeah. Do you have any top 3 favorite TV shows that you like?
Oh, definitely. And that's going to be a toughie, too, because I have so many. Believe it or not, I really like Blue Bloods with Tom Selleck. I like the story. I like the way it's written. I'm a Blue Bloods fan.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Obviously, I like Walking Dead. Watched it since its inception. I've watched every season of it. And of course, I guess the spin-offs of Walking Dead. There's one called Fear of the Walking Dead, and I like that. But there's a new one, and it's so new. It only has one season. It's in second season now. I haven't seen any of the second season yet. And it's about a group of young kids. I'm going to say in their maybe late teen, early 20s that are. It takes place 10 years after the start of Walking Dead. And these people are still surviving in the countryside against the zombies. But these people are, in their early 20s. It's just a small group of kids, basically. I like it. It's well done. The first season is available online. I can't remember where, but I found it the other day where I could watch it for free. And it's something about a whole new world or brand new world or something.
Yes,
Something
yes.
about new world.
I signed up for AMC Plus just to keep up with all Walking Dead because I love Walking Dead, and I love that they're doing these crazy spin-offs from the original because we need it for the next generation.
Absolutely. And this spin-off that I'm talking about, which you seem to be familiar with, is fantastic, and I recommend it to everyone.
Yes, I highly recommend it too. Unfortunately, I forgot the title, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
It'll be easy for anyone to Google. They can just get on and they can say, spin-offs of The Walking Dead, and, it'll pop up.
Yes, and don't forget to sign up with AMC Plus because you get more content than you just do on regular AMC.
Okay.
Also, I've got one for you. On the Peacock TV, they got a really good show called Dr. Death.
I'll check Dr. Death out. Thank you for the recommendation. I am familiar with Peacock. I get it, and I watch a lot of stuff on Peacock also.
Yes, they got Dr. Death. It's very good. It's very interesting. But prepare yourselves because it goes back and forth a lot. It goes from flashbacks to present to, I think, kind of like the future. So it goes back and forth a lot. But if you're like me and you're used to the, as you say, Quarantino syndrome, then you'll kind of slide right in and get used to the back and forth, kind of like a seesaw.
Oh yeah. Which, by the way, if I may interject for a moment, some of my fictional YouTube series that I have on YouTube are done that way. I call it fragmentary narrative, and that is in fact the way the movie Magnolia was done. Mulholland Drive, which is David Lynch. I'm sure you're familiar with him and probably with that movie. Annie Hall by Woody Allen. Those are all examples of what's known as fragmented narrative, where he doesn't present the story in a linear fashion in terms of a beginning and a middle and an end, but the story is presented to the viewer in bits and pieces that the viewer has to then, in their mind, put together like a jigsaw puzzle. I love that approach to directing. I love that approach to my series. That's how I like to do it. I like to give it to you that way, in disconnected pieces, sometimes disconnected by years or time periods, as is the case in the examples that you and I are talking about sometimes, and then letting the people put it together themselves as they watch it. Let the viewer tie it all together.
I like that. That sounds good. And what was the last movie you saw?
The last movie that I saw, gosh, give me just a moment on that one. Kind of caught me off guard there, because I watch so many, and I watch them every week. Why don't I just think of the one that impressed me the most visually? That would have been the new King Kong vs. Godzilla that just recently hit the theaters, but it's also out on DVD. And someone over said, hey, I just watched this, let's watch it. And since I didn't go to the theater to see it, I did, and I loved it, and it was great, and I was thrilled with the special effects, and of course, I like the whole King Kong Godzilla stuff anyway. So to see a brand new one with all the new CGI effects and everything was really great.
I like that. And the two movies that I recently saw that I really, really enjoy is number one, Shang-Chi and the 10 Golden Rings, which is for the Marvel Universe. And then if if you get HBO, if you get HBO Max, or if you go to theaters, check out Crime Macho by Clint Eastwood. He did direct
I've
it.
heard about that. I do want to see that.
That movie is a masterpiece. I totally enjoyed it.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
I recommend it to everybody.
Okay. Well, I like anything Eastwood's been in and anything Eastwood directs as well. So, yeah, I'm sure I'll enjoy this.
So where can we find you in social media?
Well, all over the place. You know, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Gab, obviously I'm on YouTube, on Facebook, I'm Rich Vernadeau, and RICHVERNADEAU. And if you type my name there, Rich Vernadeau, into Google or any other search engine, it should pull up all kinds of stuff that I've done from all over the place. I have about 50 different groups on Facebook to deal with everything. You know, I have one called Late Night 50s TV. I have one called 1960s Magazine. I've got one called Comedy Satire Parody, and it's the comedy stuff on it. Those are just some of my Facebook groups. You know, I've got, as I say, anywhere, I haven't counted them lately, more than 50 Facebook groups on it. I have more than 3,000 videos on my YouTube channel on YouTube, and that's Richard Vernadeau on YouTube. My full name Richard, and then the Vernadeau when you're looking for me there on YouTube. But again, you can Google and pull up all kinds of stuff that I've done.
And I like that because you just broke a barrier today. Most people don't even want to get Googled. And here you are saying, Google me.